Video we are going to create a book storage app with local storage. This is a 29 JavaScript project. We are going to use object-oriented JavaScript to follow along. This is the source code. Fine. Now, if you see, if I type something on the text field and now the local storage is blank, if you click on save, the local storage has one object right now. Even after the page refresh, you can see it is still there on the web page. And there is validation also. If you click on save without filling, it is going to show you a validation like error. So let me insert again. Now there is two values in the local storage, but you can see in the table, so in the web page there are three. So let me see what the error is. So if you click on X, it will be deleted on the local storage as well. Fine. Now I have removed the error. Now if you type and click on save, the local storage has one object, and again the local storage has two objects. Along with the output, you can see it on the web page. Fine. Now if you wish to remove it, you can remove it on the web page. The same will be reflected on the local storage. Fine. Let's start with the steps. These are the steps we are going to create. I'll leave this step in the description so that you can follow with me. So let me show you. Let me start the JavaScript from scratch. Let me save it somewhere so that in case if we stuck, we can get the reference. And now it has empty JavaScript. Now we need to look at the HTML. So let me take all the input ID. So I have given ID to form, I have given ID to input field. There are three input field. So let me get all the ID of the input field, and finally we have a T body. This is a place where the data will be dynamically appended. Fine. When the window is loaded, that is, it is like jQuery, I want a function to get initiated. So this is a function. When the window is loaded, this function is going to get initiated. So for that, let me show you a message with the help of alert. So once the page is refreshed, you can see the function is getting automatically called. So now when the form, what I need is on submit get all input field values. So we have, let me get all the elements in the JavaScript with the help of ID, and let me store it into a variable. Likewise, we have so many elements, so let me copy and paste it. So these are the IDs, this is the form, and this is the author name text field. It is stored, I'm going to store it into a variable as like the same ID. And this is the T body element table inside table. Fine. When the form is submitted, so the form is in the variable. When the form is submitted, we can give the submit event with the help of add event listener. The first one would be the event which we will be adding. It is not click, it is submit right now. The form can be only submitted, so it is submit. So what happened when we click on submit? So this function will get triggered. When we click on submit, this function will get triggered. So let me prevent the default behavior of the form. So after that, let me show you a message called you clicked on submit. So if everything work fine, what we get is when I click on a button, save button, we will get an alert message, and that's working. Now let's get all the text field value. With the help of value property, we can get all the values of the input field. So let me show you the message. So the form cannot have the value, only the input field can have. So when I click on submit, I want the values of the text field. So when the page is loaded, the text field value is blank. So if you click on save, you will get the blank value. You're getting the blank value. So what you have to do is you have to get all the values and paste it on submit event. When you click on submit, that time you want to get all the input field data and you want to show it on the console, and that's working. Now we're going to create a class called book. We will be creating the class with the name of keyword class, and we will be writing it inside the window.onload function. Class is a keyword, and you can give any name. I'm going to give the name book. So let's pass these input field value to the object of book. We'll be passing it inside the constructor, so we can access the constructor inside the class with the help of a keyword called constructor. We can access these values inside the constructor, and in the constructor I'll initialize this value to a variable. This dot author name is simply the variable for the book, and book name is the variable for the book, and again ISBN is the variable for the book. Now on submit, I want to show the object, so these values are inside this single value or book. So let me show you book. Let me show the message on the console. Now you will get the object. Now you can see it's simply the object. Now if you notice, let's create a class called UI. As like we did for book, we are going to create it UI. Now what we need is we need to clear all the field when you click on submit. So let's create a function called clear fields. What it will do is it will get all the input field value and replace it with nothing. What do I mean by nothing? I'll show you right now. I have got all the text field and I'll replace it with nothing. So this is nothing. So this will not work automatically. You have to initialize it after you paste it on the console. So since it's a static, you don't have to initialize it, you just have to call it with the UI. So this is before adding the function. So if I click on save, the input field value is still there, but if I call this function, it will be removed, because that function we have defined it as it should remove all the input field value. So if you see, the input field value has disappeared. Fine. Now let's create a function again in the UI, so that will display the dynamic data on the T body. So we are going to define it as static because we are not going to initialize the class UL. We are going to directly call it, and inside this function we will be calling it over here once we click on submit, and this book will be passed as the parameter, or you can say this book is passed as the argument and this is the parameter. We will receive it as parameter. So we have a T body. So before that, so this is a place where we will get all the local storage value. So keep in mind, we'll do it after some time, but again I'm going to call a function over here, and that function will have the book parameter. So this function name should be populate row, and let me call it over here. It's a static class, so you need to call the class name along with the function. And now the populate row will dynamically append this HTML. With the help of inner HTML, we can write any HTML we want. So what we need is we just need this TR to be dynamically created. This is a static TR. We will make it dynamic. So before that, let me show you. The book has a variable called, it's not author name. I will go with the table way. It's the first one is ISBN, and the second one is simply the author name, and the third one is the book. You can see it's author after ISBN. So let me copy the author name, and finally the book name. You should call, we have already called it on the submit function. You can see I have already called it with the help of class UI. Now let's check whether it is working or not. Let's type something and click on save, and it is working. Let me remove the message. So after that, what we need is, we need to show the alert message that we have clearly we have inserted the value. Likewise, we're going to create another function which is also a static function, and it will accept two parameters. The first one is text and the second one is the class name. The class name will be success, primary, danger, warning. I'm going to create an element called div, and this div will have a class name, and the class name is alert, followed by alert. It can be danger, it can be success, so it depends upon what we have passed over here. And then we have a text. With the help of inner text, we can populate the text whatever we want. So this is the message we'll get, either it is data deleted or it is data inserted, and we want to insert it just above the form. So this is the place where we want to insert it. So let's get the car body. It's a class name. Let's call it by document dot get elements by class name. So this get elements by class name will give you a node list. We just have only one class, so I'm calling it by index. Let me store it into a variable car body, and choose the parent. It's a car body, and you have to use a function insert before. What you have to insert is the div before the form. The form should come as a second parameter, as a second argument. Fine. Now let's call it UI dot messages. So the text would be data inserted, and it's a success message, so alert success. Let me pass the success. Fine. Now likewise, if you click on the save button, you'll get data inserted, and if you click again, you can see there are multiple appendings. We don't want that. What we want to do is, we want to remove the div, dynamically created div, after 2 seconds. With the help of set timeout function, we can create a function, and that would be called after 2 seconds. 2000 is simply the 2000 milliseconds is equal to 2 seconds. Fine. Now type something and click on save. After 2 seconds, it will get disappeared. And again, we are going to add a validation. If the field is blank, we want to show an error message. So on the submit section, before creating an object, I want to check whether the value is null, or you can say nothing. If it is blank, if the values are blank, I want to show an alert message with the class danger. If it's not blank, I want to create the object and proceed with the further one. So these are the else part if it's not blank. So if it is blank, let's create a message function. You can give any message. I'm going to give must enter at all field before submit, and the class is danger because it's an error. So let's check if there was, and return in I wrote return. It is because it should not continue to the next line. It should return after there's an error. That's the reason. Now we are going to use a event delegation. What is event delegation? Okay, if you check, if I click on X, it is not getting closed. It is because it is getting dynamically appended. To use event delegation, what you have to do is, you have to call the parent. So here the parent is simply the T body, which I have used it in the variable called dynamic here. This is a container, add event listener, and we have to pass the click listener to the button. So we are going to identify the button with the help of class name. So wherever you click you can get the element with the help of e dot target. E is simply the event. If you click on the parent after submit, you will get the element where you have clicked with the help of e dot target. I'm clicking on td, I'm again clicking on td and again td. You can see now I'm going to identify the button with the help of class. So let me add a class before dynamically appending. So the class name would be, here let me add a class which is, you can give any name. I'm going to give it remove it. Now if the class is remove it, then it will return true, or else it would be false. Let me click somewhere. Now it's false. Now if I click on button, you can see it is true. Now we are going to pass this one. So let me comment it. We don't need right now. I'm just going to pass a element. I'm just going to pass an element to the class. And you guessed it right, I'm going to create a function on the UI class. So let's pass this element to the function. I have not created the function. Let me create a function called, you can give any name. I'm going to give it remove row, and let me pass the element. E dot target is the element we are going to pass. So let me define this on the UI class. Again it's static followed by the function name. We'll receive the element as an parameter. So we have used the condition, the same condition I'm going to use. If it is true, then I want to remove the tr. So here the tr, this is the element, and I want its parent. With the help of parent element, we can get its parent. At present, its parent is td. So again, we want the td's parent, which is tr. So with again parent element. Now we are in the parent element. I want to remove the parent element, which is tr. And there is an error, e is not defined. Let me see why. We are passing the element, it is element. I think again we will get an error. It is because e dot target, we have already mentioned it above. We need to remove the element. We need to remove the target. You can see we have passing the e dot target. So e dot target is simply the element. So there is no use of again using target on the element. So I have to remove the target property, and that would work. At present, we are just removing the static HTML element. Now we are getting into the local storage class. So this class will handle all the local storage data. So we'll create a function that will get the value from the local storage. So the function name would be get stored. So there can be two scenarios. If the local storage is null, if the local storage can be identified with the help of key name local storage.get item. We need to pass the key. You can define any name. I'm defining it key book. If it is book, if the local storage is null, then just initialize the array. Else, if it is not null, what you have to do is you have to get the value from the local storage. If you notice, you can only store the value as a string format, but we are passing the array. Get item, which is book, we would be getting it as string. I want to convert it into array with the help of json.parse. With the help of json.parse, we can convert the string. It's a string coming from string. Its local storage stores only string. And we are going to convert this to array with the help of json.parse. And when I call the get stored, I want to return the books. So the next function would be setting local storage values. Fine. To set the local storage value, we need the object. So object can be passed, can be received from here. So we are going to get the book from local storage. To get the value from local storage, we have already defined a function, so we'll call this function. We need to call it with the help of class name along with the function name. If it is blank, we'll get the array. If it is not blank, we'll get the array values. Anyway, both the cases, it is going to be array. We are going to push the object to the array, and again, once the array we receive, we are going to pass it to the local storage. And to pass it into the local storage, there is one condition: it cannot be an array, it should only be the string. So we are going to convert the array to string with the help of json.stringify function. Fine. Now let's get it working. So on submit, we want to store the values to the local storage. If you remember, we have created a book object. We'll pass the book object to the set stored function. So let's pass the book. So the book can be accessed over here. So let's check. If there is no error, we'll get the output on the over here, but there is an error. Let's see why. Book is not defined. It is because I have used multiple let. I have to remove multiple let and use one let when the function is defined. And I believe again I'll get an error. Let me see why. It's showing the error over here. It is not getting the book. So I have removed the let, and now we'll get, if there is no error, you will get the object in the local storage, and yes, there is no error. Now populate the row even after the page is refreshed. You can see the HTML will go away after the page is refreshed, but the local storage value is there. What we need to do is we need to fetch the value from the local storage. Over this is a place where we are going to fetch the value. We have created a function called get stored, and we'll pass it to a variable. In this book, we have passed, it's an array, so we're going to push it whatever object we receive. And again, this book array is going to be received over here. So it's an array. I hope it won't work because array should be populated with the help of for each. It says undefined. I think it is because of the for each loop. We have to use for each loop for the array. This is the array we received. With the help of for each, we'll get one by one object, and this one by one object we'll append it inside the T body. And I hope now it will work. And again, I haven't used plus equal to. Let's see if it's worked fine once the value is inserted. And again, it is going to get replaced because we have not used plus equal to. And now it will be appended. Instead of replacing, it is going to get appended. And again, you can see there are multiple way. Now before inserting, I want to remove, or you can say I want to clear the table body. So for that, we'll use the while loop. This while loop I will run until and unless there is first child in the T body. this is a t body. It should run until unless there is first child. So we'll remove the first child on the, and that would work, and this way you will not get an error. There are 4 values. Now if you see, if you refresh, it is getting disappeared. If you click on submit, it is going to give you 4 values or 5 values. This is the 5th value you are getting, you are inserting right now. Already there are 4 value in the local storage. You can see there are 5 values. Now what I did is, on the page refresh, I want the function to get initialized. So populate row is the function. I need to call it on page load, that is on window load. So we'll pass the local storage value with the help of the function get stored. So on page refresh it should work. It is not working. Let me see why. It's getting an error. We have not used store dot. It's a static class. Sorry, it's a static function. We have to use the class name also to call it. It's a class of the UI, so that's why I've called it UI. So on page refresh you're getting the value from the local storage. So if you click on X, the value is not getting deleted from the local storage. Now we are going to create a function, and this function will simply remove a row from the table as well as from the local storage. So we'll get an ISBN number. ISBN number is going to be unique. For every book, ISBN is going to be unique. So I'm choosing the ISBN. So what we are going to do is, I'm going to get all the objects from the local storage, and I'm going to run a for each loop. So with the help of the function get stored, I can get all books. So I'm going to run the for each loop. I will be getting one by one book object along with the index number. One by one book along with the index. So if the one by one objects ISBN matches our ISBN, passed ISBN, then I want our array to get splice on the index on with one value. I want to remove only one value with the index, and again I'm going to pass the array to the local storage in the form of string after the for loop ends. Now we are going to call this on the remove function. So I need the ISBN. So we need to use the DOM traversing. So at present we are in the button. We need the ISBN. So element is the button, and parent element is going to give the TD, and again the parent element is going to give the TR. And now with the help of first element child, I will get the first TD, and I need the first TD's text. So for that I will be using the property called, let me check whether it is first element child, and yes. And to get the text I will be using inner text, and now I will get the ISBN. Now I'll pass the ISBN to this function, and it will check. We have already defined it below. Let me remove it, and let me show that there is an error. We have to define it with the help of let, or you can give const. Fine. Again there is an error. Stored is not a function. Yeah, we have to call it with the help of a class name, and yes, it is getting removed from the HTML as well as from the local storage. Let me create it again, and let me delete again. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening.